like Mitchell, or you can be like Reynolds and Skiffle. Give it a Johnston and he'll get triple. Pass it to Cleary, you know he'll run the pitch. Score points like Jabojevic. I'm game day fit, no need to switch. Cooking up like Quickie Man's in the kitchen. Who's that on the wing? It's Sivo. Score, try and do the Guffrino. Don't get too rowdy or too keen, or you'll end up like Hasentino. Get a 40-20 like BCE. Run the ball like hectic cheese. Support runner, that's Pappenhausen, but I still got Teddy at the SCG.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Final Siren Podcast, or welcome to the Final Siren Podcast if you're new here. We're reacting to the 2023 NRL draw tonight, and there's a few shockers here. A few teams have been handed a very hard draw, and a few teams have been handed a walk in the park. At the end of the day, each club plays the same teams, but some more so. I think we'll get to the first round. We're each going to be reading around and then repeating that order, and then we'll quickly talk about Origin. We'll quickly talk about who has the hardest draw and things like that. We'll only go in depth for rounds 1, 10, and 27, but even those won't go on for too long. That way we can just get through this one, not waste too much of the night. But the first round I'll be reading, the order will be me, Faraz, Davos, and Lockie, and then repeating that. So the first round, we'll have a bit of discussion once I've read them out. Eels versus Storm, Warriors versus Knights, Panthers versus Broncos, Sea Eagles versus Bulldogs, Cowboys versus Raiders, Sharks versus Rabbitohs, Dolphins versus Roosters. That's a very interesting one. And West Tigers versus Titans. Now, boys, I think each one, the person reading them may as well just give a game of the round. That way we don't dawdle on too much. But before we do that, what's your thoughts on the first round of the 2023 NRL season? Probably just talk in the order that we're reading them out. Faraz, that's you, mate.
All right. Sorry for that. No, look, a lot of people have been complaining about run, but honestly, there's a few good matchups here. For example, Eels Storm to start the season off. That's a cracker. Panthers Broncos could be a surprise one. Manly Bulldogs, 2 new coaches for each side. Cowboys Raiders. Look, Sharks Rabbitohs, of course, I forgot that. But look, I think game of the round would probably be something like Sharks Rabbitohs. I think people need to stop complaining, especially with round 1. You don't know what's going to happen. I'm actually surprised there's no rivalry game, though.
Yeah, very true. Davos.
Yeah, it's good round to start the season off. There's some good games like the Rabbitohs versus Sharks. Sharks will be fired up, especially the way they went out against the Rabbitohs, and Broncos versus Panthers. I think it will be a good test for the Broncos to see where they're at. And Storm Eels is going to be an absolute cracker, and hopefully my mighty Storm can get up.
That's fair. Lockie.
I think for me, it's got to be Sharks Rabbitohs for game of the round to start. I think just going off how our last season finished. There's other key matchups there. You've got Panthers Broncos and Eels Storm, but for me, it's Sharks Rabbitohs.
Yeah, for me, it's going to be Eels versus Storm, actually, the Thursday night game. Second to that, though, quick mention to Tigers Titans. Whenever they have a game, it's always boring. And it's going to be game of the round for me. Tigers Titans, lock that in. It's going to be a ripper. So round 2 is Faraz, round 3 is Davos, and round 4 is Lockie. So I'll get that up on screen now.
Yep, so we've got the Panthers take on the Bunnies. And then on Friday, we've got Parramatta take on Cronulla. And then on the main game on Friday night, we've got Brisbane take on North Queensland. The Roosters take on the Warriors. Dolphins will open up at versus Canberra. Melbourne take on Canterbury. The Tigers will take on the Newcastle Knights. And Dragons will play Gold Coast. And Manly will get the bye for the second week.
One thing I forgot to mention before is Dragons did have the bye for round 1. So each team, with the new system, a team will have a bye each week. And the teams total up for 3 bye rounds each. And a few of those will be during the Origin period. So Davos is next.
Yep, so we have got the Sea Eagles versus the Eels. We've got the Knights versus the Dolphins, Roosters, Rabbitohs, the big rivalry there. We've got the Titans, Storm, Cowboys, Warriors, Broncos, Dragons, Bulldogs, West Tigers, Raiders and Sharks, and the Panthers have the bye this week.
Do you have a game of the round for that one, mate?
Look, it obviously has to be the rivalry between the Roosters and the Rabbitohs. I love seeing those teams go at each other. hate each other with a passion. So it's as a neutral fan, it's good to see.
Yeah, I agree.
So round fours, and for me, it's probably one of the better rounds that we've seen early on in the season. To kick it off, we've got the Sydney Derby, you could call it, Eels Panthers. Then the Storm take on the West Tigers. That will be an absolute shit show. And the first time in NRL history, the derby between the Dolphins and the Broncos will be going down at Suncorp. Expect a huge crowd for that one. And the Queensland Derby, Cowboys, Titans, Rabbitohs, Manly, Warriors, Bulldogs, Knights, Raiders, Dragons, and Sharks, and the Chooks with the bye for round 4.
So game of the round for you is that
For me, it's got to be excitement level will be Dolphins Broncos, but it's probably Eels Panthers grand final rematch.
Yeah, that's fair. I'd have to agree there. Round 5, Roosters versus Eels to open up that week. Raiders versus Panthers. Rabbitohs versus Storm. That'll be a good game. Sea Eagles versus Knights. Dragons versus Dolphins. Broncos versus West Tigers. Sharks versus Warriors. Bulldogs versus Cowboys, and Titans with the bye. I mean, could you go any other way? But Roosters versus Eels or Bunnies versus Storm. Between those two, I'd have to go Bunnies versus Storm for me, game of the round in this one. So we'll go to the next game now.
Yeah, so the Storm will take on the Roosters. Brandon Smith take on his former club. Then we've got the Good Friday clash, I believe. Bulldogs versus Rabbitohs. The Cowboys will be taking on the Dolphins in a Queensland Derby. Penrith will take on Manly. Brisbane will host Canberra. Titans will play Dragons again, which is strange. That's a bit quick. Newcastle will play the Warriors, and on Easter Monday, I'm pretty sure that's the West Tigers taking on Parramatta.
Yeah, Sharks with the bye there as well. What's your game of the round?
It's got to be Storm Roosters, isn't it? Brandon Smith on his former club. These two, they have blockbuster games as well, especially.
I agree. There's a lot of great Thursday night games to open the season. This might not be one of them, Davos.
Yep. So we've got the Dolphins taking on the Rabbitohs, Sharks taking on the Roosters. The big rivalry here on Friday night: Sea Eagles versus Storm, Warriors versus the Cowboys, Knights taking on the Panthers, Titans, your favorite team, Noah, taking on the Broncos. Raiders taking on the Dragons, and the rivalry to end the week, Eels versus Doggies.
Yep, Tigers with a bye there as well. What's your match of the round?
See, there's not really many exciting ones. Look, if I'm being honest, I probably have to go Roosters versus Sharks. That's two quality teams going at each other, and Craig Fitzgibbon coming from the Roosters, playing his former side. So, yeah, that'll be a good game.
I mean, both Friday night games should actually be all right because Manly and Storm don't like each other either. So,
and they have good games as well.
Manly being the home team as well, that could be a great game.
At Brookie, it could get a bit vocal.
Yeah, a few punches thrown there.
Rounder.
And I'll lead us through, I believe, it's Anzac round. So it's Rabbitohs Panthers kicking it off on Thursday, then the Broncos and the Eels versing on the Friday night prime time. And then the Dogs, Tigers, Cowboys, Knights on the Saturday. Sunday, Dolphins, Titans in a Queensland Derby again. I don't like how many Queensland Derbies there are, to be honest. It was always just Broncos, Cowboys. Tigers, Manly. And on the Tuesday, on the big day in Australia and New Zealand's history, Roosters will take on the Dragons as usual and Storm Warriors on the nighttime game. And the Raiders will have the bye for round 8.
Tuesday games. Haven't seen those,
I
think, ever. Or no, it might be a very long time. I think there was at one stage. I remember back in the old days of Monday Night Football. That was brilliant. But now, round 9. Sharks versus Cowboys, that will be a ripper. I'm already labeling this as game of the round. There's no games that will top this, I don't think. Eels versus Knights, Broncos, Rabbitohs, that's another good game.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Raiders, Dolphins, Sea Eagles, Titans, Panthers, Tigers, Warriors, Roosters, Dragons and Bulldogs with Storm having the bye. Yeah, I mean, I have to go Sharks versus Cowboys. Broncos, Rabbitohs a close second, though, because they always have close games.
Adam Reynolds Cup.
Cape Ball kicks another field goal.
Yeah. But anyhow, I have the pleasure of taking over Magic Round. So the Bulldogs will be taking on the Raiders. The annual Manly Broncos clash, Manly home game. The Warriors take on the Panthers. Sharks take on Dolphins. The Storm take on Rabbitohs. The West Tigers play the Dragons. The Roosters play Cowboys. That should be a blockbuster right there. Tigers and Parramatta to finish off. Yeah, Newcastle with the bye.
This one is one we'll actually talk about for only for a couple of minutes, boys. But what's your thoughts on Newcastle having the bye this round? I honestly thought it should have been the Dolphins being a new team. But yeah, what's your thoughts?
I'm actually fine with it, to be honest, because they did go off fan interaction and viewers, and they did take everything into account. And clearly, Knights weren't the team that everyone was excited about. They were never going to take out Titans, Cowboys, Broncos, or Dolphins because it's in Queensland.
Yeah,
that's just a given. But I don't know. Finishing off with Titans Eels is a bit of a letdown, I would think. One thing I would love to do at Magic Round is to spice up a bit and get the fans there more. Is get bigger rivalry games. Like imagine Broncos Cowboys on the Friday night, and then you've got Roosters Rabbitohs on the Saturday night, and then you finish it off with someone else like Manly,
Storm,
Manly Bulldogs or something, like Eels Bulldogs or something like that.
I had a Magic Round fixture in mind, which for me went the way of Rabbitohs versus Tigers. They always have close games. That's the first game. Broncos Cowboys. Then I believe I did Eels Bulldogs, Roosters Storm, and then I can't remember all of them. There was a few other ones there. Sharks versus Penrith. There's a lot of good matchups that would have been great to see in this round. I honestly think this is a bit of a letdown for a Magic Round. I'll still go to Magic Round.
Like they're already selling out every day, so I don't know why they can't put bigger blockbusters in. Imagine the atmosphere and the rivalry in the stadium.
You know what's my thoughts, honestly? My theory is that NRL, they're telling us that Newcastle don't have like a big expansion of fan base. I don't think that's true. Obviously, someone had to miss out, but I don't think that's true because Newcastle fans are passionate as they get 20,000 at home. Even when they got the spoon, fans kept turning up and down. So, like, not a lot of people really have to travel to Magic Round. So I think that's a poor judgment. But my theory is that the NRL are just looking at Newcastle and they're like, this is a team fighting for the wooden spoon. Like, they're a team that they haven't made any signings. They're looking dead right now. They want to move Ponga to 6. I think that the NRL are just looking at Newcastle and like, this team's probably going to come dead last, so no one's going to watch them. So I think they try. So I think that's why they just took Newcastle out. I think that's just my theory.
I think if they were going on like fans that were showing up to games, I would have thought it would have been the Titans sitting out with their 2 fans.
Yeah.
Both of them probably won't even show up to Magic.
To be honest, I think it should have been the Tigers that miss out.
Yeah, true.
Wooden spooners like the previous year. I
think that should be the theory every year. The team that wins the wooden spoon has to miss out on Magic Round. I feel like that'd be a good theory.
Yeah, because
I don't care whether you're a Queensland team or whether you're a New South Wales team. I think that's the best theory to go.
Yeah.
See, but the thing is, what if Brisbane got the spoon like the year before?
Yeah, exactly. Then you miss out. Then it
you can't make the. But if anyone say it's the Broncos, regardless, because they're the host as well of it, basically.
Nah, but I don't think it should. I don't think it should be that way. If Broncos get the spoon,
fair enough. But that's not how it works with NRL. Yeah, go on.
The only problem I see with the spoon thing of the person who wins the spoon goes on to not play Magic Round next year. If one team has a bad form slump and ends up winning the spoon like 3 or 4 years in a row, then they miss Magic Round 3 or 4 years in a row, and their fans don't get to watch them. So I feel like it should honestly just be someone random each year, and not. I don't think it should be based on fan interactions. I feel like it should be someone random and different each year, because I think if someone's in a bad form slump, like I said before, and losing multiple games in a row, and they're just getting the spoon for a couple of years in a row, then their fans don't get to watch them at Magic Round, which that would be a bit sad for their fans. The next round will be taken by Davos.
Yep. We got the big to open round 11. We got the big game: Storm versus Broncos, Bulldogs versus Warriors, Panthers Roosters. That's going to be an absolute cracking game. Rabbitohs Tigers, Cowboys Dragons, Raiders Eels, Knights Titans. That's going to be bloody boring as bad shit. But Seagulls, Sharks, and then the Dolphins have the bye.
I reckon this will be one of the most.
Oh, this is going to be an absolute cracking round.
I actually think every game could be close, honestly.
Broncos Storm will be a good game. I think Bulldogs Warriors with Bulldogs as a home team, that could be a great game.
Yeah.
Panthers Roosters, Rabbitohs Tigers, they always have a close game. Cowboys Dragons will probably be a blowout if Cowboys are performing the way they were performing this year. Raiders Eels had some close games this season. Yeah, I agree. That'll be a terrible game. But I mean, back to the ways of old. No Dolphins playing this round. How good. But the next round will be taken by Lockie.
So kicking it off at Suncorp on Thursday night will be Broncos Panthers, and the history between the two clubs again. Dragons Roosters are playing Friday. Rabbitohs Eels at the night game, which it says TBA for the stadium to be confirmed.
Probably
so that'll be interesting. Sharks Knights, West Tigers, Cowboys, and Dolphins Storm, which will be a bloodbath on the Saturday night. And then on the Sunday, Bulldogs Titans and Raiders Manly, with the Warriors having the bye.
Yeah, that's a pretty good round. For me, I'll be taking over round 13. Dolphins versus Dragons. The boys in red and white both going at it I think that's the first time this season. Might be the second time. I may have missed it before, but I believe if that's the first time, that I reckon will be a good game. Eels versus Cowboys. Warriors versus Broncos. Nice to see the Warriors back permanently in New Zealand. By the way,
boys back in New Zealand.
Yeah, exactly. It's great to see. Rabbitohs versus Raiders, Knights versus Seagulls. And since this is, I think, just before the first game, first game of Origin, I believe, is May 31st. So Bulldogs, Panthers, Roosters, Sharks, Storm, Titans, and Tigers have the bye. They all share that between them. And round 14 will be for us.
Yeah, so not really much to look forward to, but we move on. West Tigers hosting the Canberra Raiders on Thursday night. Then the Warriors will play the Dolphins. They're probably their first encounter, unless I missed it before. Titans will play Rabbitohs. The Sharks will host Brisbane. Brisbane finally in Sydney. The Roosters will take on the Bulldogs on Sunday at 2 p.m. time slot, which is a bit odd, but Cowboys take on Storm in Townsville, and the Panthers play the Dragons. And with Newcastle, Manly, and Parramatta missing out.
Yeah, that's an all right. I don't mind that. That's actually not a bad round. It got saved.
Yeah, I honestly think Sharks Broncos could be a thriller. That's my game of the round. I think that could go to Golden Point, honestly.
I'm going to go. I can't go past Cowboys Storm for game of the round. Sunday 4:05. That'll be free to air as well. The latest Sunday game is not free to air. There.
It's always been the game.
Oh, I'll go to that Central Coast. It's a beautiful stadium. Just too far.
So there's no game. Oh yes, there's no games on Thursday because that would have just been right after Origin, which that makes sense to be fair. Round 15 is Davos.
Yeah. So to kick off round 15, we've got Titans versus West Tigers. Following that, we got Raiders versus Warriors. Then we got Seagulls versus Dolphins. Dragons, Rabbitohs, Broncos, Knights. Faraz's favourite team, the Knights. Roosters, Panthers, which will be absolute cracker. Storm, Sharks will be an absolute cracker. I'll be going to that game. And then the big rivals are Bulldogs versus
I'll be on that one.
Yeah, and Cowboys with the bye. I mean, this has potential to be a really great round. Dragons.
It starts off slow, but then it gets better.
Yeah. I know Faraz Faraz, we're giving you 30 seconds to have a rant about this. You were having a rant about it to me earlier. Titans versus Tigers primetime TV. Let us hear it.
Why? Did they not learn their lesson after watching the games this year? Even as Titans fans yourself, that can't even fit half of 28,000 it is. Why are you making them play the Tigers on prime air free TV? Especially when they're playing in the day most of the time. It's such a bludger of a match. I honestly rather do maths than this, bro. Good luck getting through this game without sleeping.
That's fair. So next, I believe it's Lockie.
So the Friday night big game, Cowboys Panthers. On the Saturday, Knights Roosters, Eels Manly, Tigers Storm, which will be another bloodbath. Sunday, Sharks and Bulldogs, and Dolphins Warriors, Dragons Raiders, Broncos Rabbitohs Titans with the bye in that round. It'll be due to being Origin week.
Yep. Brilliant. Once again, I believe the Origin the origin date to May 31st, I believe, 14th of June probably, and then it's early July. I'm not too sure yet, but we'll be returned back in round 17. We will go to Dragons Warriors. That's that's an alright game, I guess. Dolphins versus Eels, Panthers versus Knights, Storm versus Eagles, Broncos versus Titans, Rabbitohs versus Cowboys, Roosters, Raiders, and Bulldogs, Sharks, and Tigers with the bye. It got better as it went, the draw here, but it starts off very slow. Arguably not one of the better rounds, but Faraz, you're round 18.
Okay, so the Sharks take on Dragons in an old rivalry match. The Warriors will play the Rabbitohs in New Zealand. Storm take on Panthers. That should be a blockbuster right there. The Raiders take on Gold Coast. The Cowboys take on West Tigers. Brisbane will play the Dolphins at the Gabba, a historic match there, and the rivalry itself. Bulldogs take on Newcastle, and Manly will host Roosters on Sunday, and Parramatta miss out.
Yep, that's fair. Now, round 19 for Dable.
Yep, so we've got the Sharks taking on the West Tigers on Thursday. We've got the Dragons, Raiders, Eels, Warriors, Bunnies, Bulldogs, and Titans versus Dolphins, and then the Broncos, Cowboys, Knights, Panthers, Storm, Roosters, and Manly have the bye.
Yeah, and the next round 20, we're getting there. That's for Lachlan.
So to kick it off, Knights, Tigers, shit game once again. Saturday, Bulldogs, Broncos, Sea Eagles, Cowboys, and Roosters Storm at the SCG. To be confirmed, though, it's saying there. That'll be a blockbuster. Probably.
I'll be a Bulldogs, Broncos, sorry.
Sunday, Warriors, Sharks, Dolphins, Panthers. That could be an absolute shit show. And Eels, Titans to finish it off with Dragons, Raiders, and Rabbitohs with the bye.
Can I just stop you there? Can I just ask you, Noah? Is that the first time Broncos are playing at Belmore in the history?
I've never seen Belmore Sports Ground. Yeah, because we've only played against Bulldogs at a core stadium, I believe.
You know what's really weird? Why are the Tigers getting so many Thursday night games?
To open up the season round, sorry.
It's only Friday. That's only a Friday night game. But
but they're getting a lot of primetime games like Friday night, Thursday night.
Yeah, I'm not too.
I'm actually happy to see the Broncos play at Belmore.
Yeah. So the next round will be the Dragons versus Tigers, Warriors versus Raiders, Rabbitohs versus Broncos, Admirals Cup again. The Titans versus Roosters, Knights versus Storm, Cowboys versus Eels, Panthers versus Bulldogs, Sharks versus Seagulls, with the Dolphins getting the bye there. That's actually not a bad round for us.
All right, so round 22 opens up with a blockbuster between the Broncos and the Roosters at the Gabba. The West Tigers take on the Rabbitohs. Storm, Parramatta, round 1 rematch. Canberra take on Newcastle. Dragons take on Manly. Penrith will take on Cronulla. Bulldogs will play the Dolphins at Bundy. And the Titans will play the Cowboys in the Queensland Derby on Sunday. And Warriors will miss out.
With the Warriors again, round 23 now.
It's gonna be weird. It's gonna be weird seeing Dolphins in Bundy. I'll tell you that.
All right. So to kick off round 23, we got the Roosters versus Seagulls. We got the Titans, Warriors, Panthers, Storm. Another absolute ripping game. The Derby, the Cowboys versus the Broncos. That'll be another absolute thriller. Knights, Dolphins, just boring. Rabbitohs, Sharks will be an absolute ripping game. Eels, Dragons, and then Raiders versus the Tigers.
I tell you what, that could be close to round of the season.
Yeah, it's actually a good round.
I'll tell you what, double header at Perth, you beauty. That's
Doggies have the bye, so
wow,
it's a beauty of a round.
That is a great round for our game. Round 24 for Lockie.
So Manly and Panthers will kick it off on the Thursday. Sharks, Titans on the Friday. Broncos, Eels at the Gabba. That'll be very interesting to watch. I'll probably be there for that after we see the Heat win the trophy at the Gabba. Rabbitohs, Dragons on the Saturday. Tigers, Warriors, Roosters, Dolphins to finish at Allianz. I don't know. It's weird reading out the Dolphins. I don't know. On the Sunday, Storm Raiders, that'll be a good game, and Knights Bulldogs with the Cowboys having the bye.
Thank you, Lockie. Round 25. This is usually where the rounds would end for the season. But no,
right. We got 126.
Not yet. We've got 2 more rounds to go after this. Cowboys Sharks, that'll be a great game to start off this round. Warriors Seagulls, that could be a good game. Eels Roosters, Tigers Dolphins, Titans Panthers, Dragons Storm, Knights Rabbitohs, Raiders and Bulldogs, with the Broncos having the bye there. That's not a great round. It started off pretty good and sort of went away the more I scrolled down. Round 26 will be Faraz. Round 27 will be Davos.
Can I just say quickly before, like, it's funny because on my phone it has finals week 1, so that's a bit.
Yeah, I think mine as well.
Yeah, I was just about to tackle my friend, but yeah. So we got grand final rematch number 2: Penrith versus Parramatta. Beauty. Warriors take on the Dragons. Dolphins will play Cowboys in the Queensland Derby to end the year. Storm play Titans. Roosters Tigers. The Raiders will host the Broncos at Canberra in a few years now. Bulldogs take on Manly, and Newcastle play Cronulla, and Souths get the bye.
That's the second last round. And last but not least, Davos.
To kick off the last round before finals, we got the Bronx versus the Storm, got the Seagulls versus the Tigers, the Sydney Derby, the Rabbitohs versus the Chookies, the Dolphins versus the Warriors, Panthers Cowboys, that'll be an absolute ripping game. Dragons Knights, Titans Doggies, and Sharks versus Raiders, which could actually be a good game.
It really could be a good game. Parramatta miss out.
Can I just say, imagine it's like Parramatta need 2 points to make the top 8, and they get the bye last round and they make it in.
Nah, but that's a good thing for Para to have the bye last round, because let's be real, like if you're looking realistically, I reckon they'll make finals, so they get basically an extra week off.
Yeah, to prepare for the finals series. I don't mind where the Broncos have their bye rounds.
Yeah,
talking as a Broncos fan right now. It's more towards the end of the year, which I really don't mind.
3 buys in 7 rounds, yeah.
But that will wrap up these. We'll quickly talk in depth about the last round, like I said before. Broncos Storm, that could be a great game. It should be a great game. It's in Suncorp, but we all know what the Storm do to the Broncos in Suncorp. Probably not one of the games I'm looking forward to next year. Obviously, Seagulls, Tigers, Rabbitohs versus Roosters. I love the fact they've ended off with the rivalry. But one thing I'm a bit confused about is Rabbitohs versus Roosters and Panthers Cowboys. They played in the last round of this.
Exactly, yeah. I get Roosters Rabbitohs why, but Panthers Cows are.
I think they're good matchups, but I feel like why they're repeating the last rounds of this year with some of those things. Sharks versus Raiders, that could be a good game. Titans versus Bulldogs, I reckon Bulldogs probably blow Titans out of the water there, honestly. Not the best round to end off, but Roosters versus Rabbitohs and Panthers.
Wait, who did you say would blow out? Who did you say would blow out who?
Bulldogs will blow out the Titans, I reckon.
Oh, yeah, probably.
Yeah. So that'll end off that part of the discussion. But there is the Ampol State of Origin, not 2022. They haven't even announced the 2023 one yet, technically, but they have. We won't be able to show it on screen, obviously, because it's not updated on the app yet. But I'll quickly get it up on my phone. But I believe the dates are May 31st, then June 14th. That's at Adelaide, which is very, very questionable. We'll talk about that one first, boys. So game 1 at Adelaide Oval on May.
Now
31st.
I've got some theory and insight into the Adelaide game.
Ooh.
So, the AFL has just announced they are doing a magic round at the Adelaide Oval in about round 5 for their season.
Oh.
My guess is putting it in Adelaide for the first game is to take some hype off the AFL to get all eyes on the Origin at the Adelaide Oval. Because as you can imagine, Peter V'landys isn't very happy that the AFL is stealing his ideas, even though the NRL basically stole the Super League's idea for that Magic Round. Magic Round is an NRL thing now. So my theory is that they've chosen the Adelaide Oval to match or beat the AFL for their 9 games that they're going to have the Adelaide Oval.
I reckon they should have just done the same venues as this year, Perth, Sydney, and Queensland. I thought that worked really well. And Jai Bisho said in the chat, "Go Queensland, go the Maroons."
Up the Maroons.
But the thing is, though, it's like, yes, Adelaide Oval, it's not probably the best ground to watch, like NRL, but like a lot of people saying games should only be in Queensland, New South Wales. But remember when Origin Series, there would be 2 games at New South Wales, or there would be like 2 games at Queensland. Like, I think it's better to have it at a neutral ground because it's then you're being biased to one state, basically. If you're going to have, like, for example, 2 games at a core stadium in the series, like, how's that fair? It just gives the Blues an advantage, for example. So, like, look,
No,
yes,
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Like, you have one in Perth, you have one in Queensland.
yeah, but Perth had it last year. Give it to Adelaide. It's the same thing, basically. It's not like the best for footy, but you got to have a neutral. Give Perth a chance, give Adelaide a chance. I think it's the best way to keep it neutral. Perth
I
had a chance.
I wouldn't mind. Do you know what I wouldn't mind?
What's that?
Fly them across to New Zealand.
Oh, that'd be
give New Zealand an Origin.
Give New Zealand an Origin match at Mount Smart. It's not going to be biased over there. It's if you're a real fan, you'll fly to another country to watch Origin.
Oh, I would, but bloody can't now. So,
Mummy won't let ya.
Okay. I think honestly, even if some Australian fans can't go and watch the Origin, give it to New Zealand. I mean, after all New Zealand have done for the NRL over the past couple of seasons, give it to New Zealand for next year. Not next year now because obviously they've announced it in Adelaide, but maybe 2024. Give game 1, game 2, game 3. Give one of them to New Zealand. Probably not the decider. You want the decider to be somewhere in Australia. But at least maybe give New Zealand the opening game next year, and because after all they've done for the NRL,
and individually, there's also Kiwis that go for Queensland and New South Wales. So
yeah, exactly. I agree. I agree with Lachlan there that you had payback. Sorry, New Zealand in that way. Give them an Origin. It's better. It's probably better than putting it in Adelaide where no one really wants to.
I believe they're doing Indigenous versus Maori in New Zealand this year.
Yeah,
but that's fair, which is very fair. That I go for the Maori All Stars. I mean, I'm not Indigenous and I'm not Maori either, but I go for Maori All Stars. But it'd be good to watch. So that's that for the Origin Game 1. So Adelaide Oval Origin Game 1, May 31st. Game 2 at Suncorp Stadium in Brisbane, June 21st. So Suncorp will hold Game 2, which means Sydney hold Game 3 at Core Stadium. Which I'm just going to go on a guess here and say Core Stadium will probably hold the decider. That's just the way it always ends up somehow being. Game 3 decider. That's when Origin's at its best, in my opinion. What's your thoughts on the venues, boys?
I like it, to be honest. I think obviously I'm going to be Queensland biased here, and I'd say I prefer to have the decider at Suncorp. But then again, you've got to play to the schedule, and like I said, it's not like we don't get a game in Queensland, so I'm pretty happy with the schedule. I just can't wait for Origin. I mean, I know we won the series this year, which was one of the best days of my life, but I'm just so excited for Origin next year.
Yeah, that's very true. Anyone else have any thoughts on this before we move on?
Yeah, I think it's fair. Have the neutral game at Adelaide first, and then have it at Suncorp. Then finally, City can get a Game 3 decider potentially, or like Game 3 game itself. Like we haven't had much, so it's good that they're finally getting one. So I can go to.
Why don't they bring an Origin match to Bundy? Come on, man. We'll get 8,000 people there, guaranteed.
8,000 guaranteed for an Origin. Wow, that's some big numbers there for an Origin match, of course. Now, moving on very quickly. This has actually gone shorter than we thought it would, which is good. It frees up some time. So the Fox League, Fox Sport Lab, went and did the numbers, ran the numbers. I'm not sure how they ran the numbers, and I'm not sure exactly how they came to these calculations. But the NRL Premiership Strength of Schedule 2023 is in the order of Broncos, Titans, Seagulls, Tigers, Panthers, Bulldogs, Warriors, Rabbitohs, then Storm, Roosters, Dragons, Eels, Knights, Sharks, Dolphins, Cowboys, Raiders. So Raiders have apparently the easiest draw, and Broncos have the toughest draw. And I'm not too sure what I think about this. What do you boys think about this? With apparently Broncos having the toughest draw, Raiders having the easiest draw. What's your thoughts on it?
I mean, Broncos having the toughest draw will just make it even sweeter when we come back. So when we come back and we're in the 8 and we're playing finals this year, it's going to bite everyone in the ass because we've had the toughest draw. And again, I don't really, as you guys know, and I've said this before, I don't really bite into any of this. Yeah. Who's got the toughest draw and who doesn't? Because at the end of the day, you're all versing the same teams. It just depends if you're going to win those games or lose them. Like, for me, it doesn't really say much. A draw's a draw. You get given what you're given. You play every week.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very fair. What about you, boys?
Well, Brisbane definitely have, like, the numbers don't lie for sure, but Brisbane also have, like, 6 home games in a row. So, yes, they do have a tough draw, that's for sure. But, like, they're also having the advantage of playing extra games at the Gabba as the home game. So, realistically, they're playing 17 out of 24 games. So, look, yes, it's a tough draw, no doubt. But, like Lachlan said, you're going to play everyone out at some stage. And, like, Broncos fans complaining, you can't really complain with that draw. Like, a lot of teams kill to have that draw, especially, like, with the amount of home games and whatnot. But, yeah, look, I'm just looking forward to it, honestly. Like, a lot of people look at last year's draw and probably look at Cowboys as, like, easy win, for example. And Cowboys came top 4. So, like, there's no real point in ranking these because, like, any team can show up on their day, honestly. So, and injuries play a part. So, yeah, I don't think it's really necessary for me to really look at who has the toughest draw and whatnot. Broncos could be a hard team for anyone itself. So, yeah.
Yep, very true. One thing I've noticed is the Broncos only happen to play, I believe, 7 games in Sydney. Actually, not even in Sydney. I believe it's 6 games in Sydney and 1 game in New Zealand. So only 7 games out of the state. So I'm really not buying too much into this whole thing of Broncos.
I just say one thing. Yeah, say one thing. I reckon. Yes, it might. I don't buy, like I said, like Fraz and Lockie said, I don't buy into the fixture. But maybe this is actually a good thing that the Broncos like I saw there. I was speaking with you, Noah, earlier about like how good of a sides the Broncos have to play coming to finals. Yeah, maybe it's actually a good thing for the Broncos because think about it. You're not going to get better if you play the lower teams, right? Maybe if Broncos want to challenge themselves, right, and get toward finals, they get experience playing those better teams. Therefore, before finals, even if they don't make the finals, it's still building for next year, and they still play the better teams and get better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just angry at a lot of fans going on Facebook and saying, "Oh my God, look at our last few games. Oh, we've got the Sharks and all that, Storm and all that." Like, shut up! Like, we're the Broncos. We're not the Titans or Warriors here. Like, as a Broncos fan, the standard is to beat the best, and we're gonna have those easy games. Like in that round from round 3 to round 8, I believe honestly, if we play to our best, we can win every week. So there's no like tough draw or anything. Like we beat the Eels at Combank 36-14. We smashed the Rabbitohs in Sydney as well. So like, there's no like, oh, what this is hard and all of that. We're going to get our easy games too, you know?
Yeah.
And the thing is, we all know round 1, the media will have their headlines set already. If Panthers win, it'll be Panthers 3 in a row or something. And if Broncos lose, it'll be Broncos pretenders once again. And if Broncos win, Broncos genuine contenders for 2023.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
A game's a game. It's round 1. If you turn up, you turn up. But we all know everyone's going to blow some dust out anyway because it's just what you do in round 1. Like round 1 isn't going to be flashy. It's not until about round 5 where you see the real potentials come out.
Well, I want to touch on something Faraz said before. I like the fact that we have a hard start and a hard finish, and like we play the softer teams throughout the middle. But I like the fact that our run home is a bit more difficult because I mean look at the Sharks last year. They did finish second. Their run home was against the Dragons in round 21. Then they had the Tigers in round 22. Ended up having Manly in round 23, which Manly were terrible at that point. Bulldogs round 24, and I believe round 25 was against the it was an Knights.
Nice. Yeah.
So and then you look at that, they bow down in final straight sets. I believe having it harder run home, even if you lose majority of the games in your run home, but still go on to make finals. I have a feeling that sets you up better for finals, knowing that you've played better teams and the standard is higher for you to win those games.
And no, even like you said, like they even like for the Broncos itself, like you look at the last few weeks, they played the Storm, okay? They got belted 60-12. They played the Eagles, they lost 53-6. Their last win of the year in those last 12 rounds came against Newcastle. That was 28-10, right? And even that in that game, all us Broncos fans, like, I've never been so much more pissed at a win itself. Like, we could just tell that night, like, something
I was there.
Yeah, exactly. And you would have been like probably freaking angry or most of the time.
I was happy to walk away with the win because I was there live. But
and at one point it was 18-10. So
pretty.
and a lot of people saying, "Oh, we needed this win and all that." You go into next week against Storm. Even I think Lachlan, you took the Storm 13+, and it happened 60-12. It happened. So like, you got to play the best to truly see where you're at. Like Broncos standards isn't like, "Oh, we'll beat the Knights and we'll think like what."
It's not like the Broncos can't match it with the best teams.
100%.
Like with the Broncos, with their full pack and their improving backline, they can match it with. I reckon they can probably match it with the likes of the Roosters, Rabbitohs.
And Roosters started slowly last year.
This is a good thing for the Broncos because like I said before, you're not going to get better if you play the shit teams. You're going to get better by playing those better teams, and the Broncos they don't have the easy games at a time where it's valuable. Right?
That's why I went back to Noah last year. Not because I hate them, but like, okay, yeah, I do hate them, but like, I just genuinely was worried for them heading to the finals.
Wait, sorry. Did you say you don't hate the Sharks?
No, I did. No, please no.
No, I'll let look. What was Lachlan saying?
Nah, the thing is, like, at the end of the day, you look down to a team, no matter how good their roster is, how good their fans are, how good their stadium is, and all that. Consistency is what makes you a club. If you show up one week and don't show up the next, you're clearly not going to get anywhere. If you look at Panthers the last 2 years, they've won about however many they won straight. The year before, Storm won like 17 straight or something.
Yeah.
That sets up your season. Consistency sets up for finals. Like, no matter the draw, you're going to have to win every week if you want to make finals.
Very true. And absolute proof that Ferraz does not, in fact, hate the Sharks. I think that's all we really need to hear for now from Ferraz.
I love the Sharkies.
Yeah, I actually don't mind the Sharks.
I love the Sharks.
I like the Sharks.
Yeah,
apparently, everyone but Ferraz likes the Sharks.
Nah.
He's more of a South Sydney fan himself.
They're more like, Sharks are like mid to me, but that's not the point of this video. But yeah,
very clearly not mid. If they are, but anyway, the point is, I think overall the Sharks are probably a B-. But that'll do us for now.
Can we just point out how last year Ferraz went to more South Sydney games than any other club?
I know more than Broncos even. Which
I'm in Sydney. Okay.
Yeah, but I just want to. I mean, we have some pretty good evidence here, showing that you may in fact support South. You may in fact.
What about the other clubs, though, Noah? What about the Panthers, the Cowboys?
I could honestly go on for ages about all the clubs that are.
You know what? Can we touch on something?
Yes, we can.
The Dolphins. What is your honest opinion of what's going to happen to them going into next year? Sorry.
I don't think they'll actually be as bad as everyone thinks.
I agree with Noah. I agree.
One thing that gets on my nerves so much, do they think they're better than every other team to not have like an allocated place name? Why not just be the Redcliffe Dolphins? What's wrong with Redcliffe?
That's legit what they were for years and years in the Intrust Super Cup.
And they're saying it's because, and they're doing all this shit saying, oh, we're looking back at history, we want to pay respects to our heritage, and then keep the fucking name. Keep Redcliffe.
The thing is, they can't take Brisbane. You look at the AFL, look how many Melbourne clubs there are. There's Essendon, Collingwood, Richmond, Melbourne Football Club, Geelong, like all these teams. You can't have the Brisbane Broncos and the Brisbane Dolphins. They need to be something else.
I know, and
They've already got the home stadium in modern day Redcliffe, so you got to just build your own fans across.
they're clearly Redcliffe based. They said they wanted even something like the Moreton Bay Dolphins, because they said they want to be Moreton Bay region, Moreton Bay area. I mean, we'll get the chat's opinion on it soon if someone in the chat agrees with this. But I just think
Logan Dolphins.
Yeah, what do they think they're better than every other team that they don't have to have a name from the place they're from?
What
I hate how Suncorp round 4 next year is their home game. Like it just irritates me saying when the Dolphins are going to host the Broncos.
Hey, guess what? Guarantee for their first home game they'll get more fans than the Titans.
Yeah. What I reckon is, I've got two takes with the Dolphins. I reckon the Dolphins will come. I reckon either 11th or 12th, and I'm calling it. Sean O'Sullivan will be a top 10 halfback. I reckon.
That's fair. I reckon he's
actually really good. He's actually really good. He's just He was just. I mean, let's be real. He's not going to get a game ahead of Nathan Cleary or Jerome Luai, but he's actually good.
So the thing is with me with the Dolphins is the squad is actually not that bad, but like they clearly lack spine plays for sure, but they've got experience in their forward pack. And look, you got to pay respect to Wayne Bennett. Like that guy, like he's come out and publicly said the Dolphins aren't going to win the sprint. And you know what? I trust the statement. I don't know if they'll be far off it, but they'll definitely be competitive in some games. They could cause an upset or two, but they'll struggle. I think in their first year they'll struggle for sure. I think they'll come 12th to 13, something like that. But we'll see how it goes. But look, I honestly think that next year, sorry for that note, I think next year Milford could have a breakout year. As much as I don't really like the bloke, but under Bennett, these players like Cody Nikorima, Wayne Bennett, they can rediscover their best, honestly, and that's the frightening thing.
I think that's the key thing as well, the Dolphins, is look at the man who's their coach. This man ain't no slouch to getting young teams and new teams and underrated teams to their best potential.
He legit led the worst Queensland team ever to a win over New South Wales.
Not even that, though. You got to look at history. You got to look at the players that he's brought up into this game. Like Wayne Bennett will go down as one of the best coaches of all time, and he's coaching this new club.
I reckon the two good things with the Dolphins, right? One, it'll bring more talent in from Queensland, so it'll allow for more state of origin players for Queensland because New South Wales have a lot more players to pick from Queensland. Not saying that's an excuse, but it's just a benefit to Queensland that the Dolphins are here. Not only that, I reckon Tom Gilbert is going to be one of the best back rowers in the country. I rate that guy so highly, Tom Gilbert.
Yeah. Okay. I wouldn't say he would be best, but he would be top tier.
One of the best. I mean, the guy is so underrated. Like he has so many effort areas that go unnoticed, like his kick chase and his.
What does everyone think of Jesse Bromwich being the captain?
I think you got to have experience.
You can't really go anyone else unless you want to have Kenny.
Maybe Kenny or Felice Kafushi, but I don't know if Kafushi would be a captain sort of role model. But look, I think that you probably have to go with one of the more experienced blokes, and then someone maybe Milford if he's playing 7. Yeah, for sure. That's just too much pressure on the guy. But yeah, you got to go with someone experienced. I actually think
I'm going to be honest. Looking at their team, their 1 to 17 ain't going to be bad. Like they're no rookie players who's no one heard of.
Do you think they'll be the Titans? Yeah. Like, do you honestly think they'll be the Titans?
100%. I think they'll beat the Titans.
Can they beat us?
No. Since they came out, I'll tell you.
They can beat. I believe they can beat anyone.
They could probably beat anyone.
I mean, we lost the Tigers.
I mean, there's teams out there already going to be better than. Let's be real. They're going to be better than the Tigers and the Knights, and we'll leave that for another video. But I think the Dolphins actually have got a solid list.
I've actually been keeping track of their signings since they became a club.
Katoa's another one. Watch out for Katoa. Just saying.
Yeah, he's a gun. But this is at the moment. This is what their starting their 17 looks like for me. Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow, Robert Jennings, Ewan Aiken, Branko Lee, Edric Lee, Anthony Milford, Sean O'Sullivan, Jesse Bromwich, Jeremy Marshall-King, Mark Nichols, Felice Kafusi, Kenny Bromwich, Tom Gilbert, then Cody Nikorima, Ray Stone, Jared Wallace, and Connor Lee Lemuelu. They've got a good lineup. and you can't deny that.
What I reckon, the only change. Do you have Jermaine Asako in there? No, you didn't read him out.
He is.
But
He's in the reserves. I've got the reserves here and everything.
The only change I'd make is I'd have Asako over Jennings, right? Only because hear me out. Who's gonna goal kick for them?
Goal kicker probably Sean O'Sullivan. He's done a bit of goal kicking before, I believe.
So who's the sixth? Milford?
Yeah, Milford's your sixth.
Anthony Milford.
I have a question. If Tessie knew ends up, because I've heard that he's spoken to the Dolphins and the
that actually hasn't happened. Like,
there's rumors there. Well, if he does go to the Dolphins, is he in your best 17?
He's definitely not fullback. I wouldn't put him at fullback. No. But it would be somewhere around that.
Unless Hammer's not performing, then you move Hammer to the centers or the wing over Robert Jennings, and then you put Tessie New. Like, that's the only thing I can see happening. I'm not sure why they're going after Tessie New.
What's the pass mark for the Dolphins next year? Like, I reckon anything above bottom four is a pass mark for them with their first year.
Probably for an inaugural season, it'd have to be. But I think we've trailed off a bit now. We've discussed everything we've come out to discuss. I reckon it's been a pretty good live video from us. I've definitely enjoyed talking some footy with you boys as always, and I'll hand it over to Lockie to end us off.
So that is the 2023 draw kicking off in March. Going to be a huge season once again. Everyone's going to be eyes peeled to the TV. But before then, we got the BBL season, which we will be covering. Stay tuned. We will be doing videos on that as well. Follow the Instagram at the Final Sign Podcast, where you'll see when we're posting and you'll see updates of what's happening around us. We're all tagged in posts on Instagram as well. So if you want to flick us a message and have a chat to us about anything, we are down for that as well. But it has been Noel Faraz Davis and myself once again for another video covering the draw and speaking some footy. Other than that, we'll be back again. Subscribe to the channel at the Final Sign Podcast, and we'll see you in the next one.